Assalamu alaikum. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to our new class, Learn Arabic from the Quran. Before we begin, I would like to remind myself and you that the main purpose of our gathering here is to learn Arabic to understand the language of the Quran to please Allah. It is our love for Allah that has brought us to His book, so we may understand His speech. We ask Allah that He grant us sincere intention and that He accepts our efforts. May Allah grant us the patience and perseverance to pursue knowledge, because whoever travels a path in search of knowledge, Allah will make easy for him a path to paradise. Ameen. This class will take place every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm open to scheduling more group sessions during the week. You can also choose the recorded lessons option, or you can book an individual one-to-one session if you would like to go at your own pace. In the live classes, at the end of each slide, I will give you an opportunity to ask questions. A little bit of introduction before we get started. I worked in information technology as a business consultant. I wanted to connect with the Quran at a deeper level, so I pursued a master's in Islamic studies in Arabic. Now my goal is to make understanding of the Quran easy for anyone who may not have the time to go through years of study. My contact information is provided on this slide. Per request of some sisters, I will be starting another class to explain Quran verse to verse meaning with tafsir. Please send me a text if you are also interested in this class with your date and time preference. I will try to accommodate a time based on majority of the requests. I'm planning a 30 minutes weekly session for Quran tafsir, free for anyone to join. Inshallah, this class will begin in June 2022. Let us go over some terms that often cause confusion. Classical Arabic, as used in the Quran, is called Al-Fusha, and this will be the entire focus of this class. Modern Standard Arabic, shortened MSA, is what is used in Arabic books and media. However, when people speak, they do not speak in Fusha or even in MSA. So even if you learn to speak in MSA, you may not understand Arabs completely because they speak in dialects. There are many spoken dialects which are quite different from each other. So if someone wants to speak Arabic, I would recommend they learn a dialect. The vocabulary we will learn in this class will be strictly from the Quran, so we are not overwhelmed with new Arabic words that you may not necessarily need for the purpose of understanding Quran. In this course, I will cover the content of the popular Madinah Arabic books, but I will give you all the information you need in the slides. You will not need to download these books because you will have a copy of my slides. I will not be covering the exercises in the Madinah books to save us time and shorten the course. If you want to do exercises or if you want an individual pace, you can request one-to-one classes with me, suitable to your own schedule. In this course, I'll focus on practicing what we learned directly from the Quran using another book. This book provides examples from the Quran for every new rule we will learn. In each lesson, I will cover the basic concepts which you must know. I will go in depth with some additional grammar, but if you don't understand all of it, please do not give up. Many times I thought to give up, but I persisted. If you just continue and learn whatever you can, you will succeed, inshallah. Just sit tight with patience during the lessons, even if you do not understand everything. If you only learned 20% of the lessons, the basics will still help you to understand Quran, inshallah. No homework other than just revising the slides. I'm here for you, even outside of class, for questions. Normally, An intensive Arabic course takes about 2 years to complete with multiple classes in the week. By skipping the exercises, I hope to go faster and cover most of the materials within a year. Let us get started. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The Arabic letters of the alphabet are 29 in number, all of which, with the exception of alif, are consonants. Consonant means it has a speech sound. For example, ba or ta are all consonants. Many people think that alif is a consonant, but we will learn more about this in our next lesson, that alif basically serves to stretch or elongate sounds. You are probably familiar with this in the Quran as mad. Short vowels are indicated by a fatha, kasra, and dhamma. This sign you might be familiar with as a zabar. It is fatha in Arabic, denoting the a sound, da, ra. You may be familiar with this sign as a kasra. As a zair, it is in Arabic called a kasra, denoting the e sound, di and ri. And this is a pesh. In Arabic, it is called dhamma, denoting the u sound, du and ru. And this is a sukoon. It is the sign denoting absence of a vowel. Sukoon means no sound or the sound has stopped. For example, ab. A consonant that does not carry any vowel is marked by a sukoon. So if you don't see anything on top of the letter, you can assume it is a sukoon. Now let's talk about Shadda. Shadda is the small W sign that you see right here. So Shadda is the doubling of a letter. So it means one letter has a sukoon and the other has a vowel. Let's take this word and break it up to understand the Shadda better. So if I write ra, fatha, and then I'm going to break up the Shadda. So this ba has a sukoon and this ba has a kasra. Rab, bi. So if you merge them, you get this Shadda written on it. We will now talk about Tanween. Now, Tanween is a discussion also for our next class, but I just want to briefly cover the symbol Tanween, which comes with a noon sound. It is pronounced as an, in, and un. So if you look here, kitabun, there is a double dhamma with the noon sound, kitaban, double fatha, and kitabin with a double kasra. So when you say kitaban, this alif is not pronounced. It is just a spelling rule. So rabbun, and there are other examples of usage of Tanween on this slide. So here are some examples of the short vowels that we just discussed, which is the dhamma, fatha, and the kasra. So let's look at some long vowels briefly. So the function of the waw, the alif, and the ya over here is to not serve as consonants, but only to stretch the sound to make the sound longer. Like in the Quran, it's a short mad. So if there is a dhamma followed by a waw, sukoon, you make it a little bit long, maftuhun. So this is a long vowel. Here, there's a fatha followed by a alif, sukoon. So you make the sound a little bit longer, babun. And here, kasra followed by a ya sukoon makes the sound longer, qamisun. Those are long vowels, and we will discuss this in more detail in our next class, inshallah. And here is the sukoon that we have already talked about before, maksurun. Let's talk about al which is equivalent to the in English, called the definite article. So if I say, I ate a banana, I'm not being specific. It is any banana. But if I say, I ate the banana you gave me, I'm being specific. So in Arabic, the is equivalent to al, and it is attached to the words. So look here, al-kamaru, the moon. This al right here is the. In this word, we say ash-shamsu, the sun. But notice here, we did not pronounce the lam. We said ash-shamsu. And in the Quran, this problem is always solved because there's always a shadda on these kind of letters where the lam is not pronounced. These are called the solar letters, or hurufu shamsiya. Huruf means letters. For these category of letters, you do not pronounce the lam in the al. And in the Quran, it always comes with a shadda, so you don't necessarily have to know these letters, but it's good to know them, and I will be providing you the letters that are solar letters. Similarly, there are certain letters that belong in this category. They are lunar letters. Huruf means letters. Al-Qamariya, so lunar letters. And here the lam is pronounced. So these are the letters that we just discussed in the two categories. Once again, you don't have to memorize them because as you can see, there's always a shadda when you don't have to pronounce this lam. All right, so now let's talk about Hamzatul Wassel. So right here, when you put that little sign on top of the alif, that's a Hamzatul Wassel, and that's what gives the sound. It's not the alif, but it's the Hamzatul Wassel that's giving it the sound. Okay, so, and what we talked about earlier was al, the, and this is a Hamza. It always does not show this little swat sign, but there is actually a swat sign on top of it, indicating that this is Hamzatul Wassel. So if a word is in the beginning of the verse, for example, here you pronounce the Hamzatul Wassel. You're saying al-baytu. You're pronouncing the Hamzatul Wassel. But if it's in the middle, you do not pronounce it because here there is a wa, and wa means and. So now you're not going to pronounce the Hamzatul Wassel. You're going to say wal baytu. So in the middle, the Hamzatul Wassel is not pronounced. Now, Hamzatul Wassel also can show up in words without the al. For example, right here, this is ismun. There's no al here, but then this is a Hamzatul Wassel here, ismun. We're going to look at this example more today. Ibnun. So you would say Isabnu Maryam. You're not going to say Isa ibnu Maryam. You're not going to say ibnu because it's in the middle. So you're going to join it and say Isabnu Maryam. Again, it looks like little swat on top of the alif. So even if there's no symbol on it, it is Hamzatul Wassel. All right. So the next Hamza we're going to look at is Hamzatul Qat. And here, Hamzatul Qat is always pronounced. So it is written with this symbol right here on the top of it. And does not matter where it comes, you're always going to pronounce this. It can come on the top or it can come on the bottom, like right here. Ahadun is. This is Hamzatul Qat. And we will talk more about these Hamzas in our next lesson, inshallah. So here's a little chart for you to go over on your own. It indicates the solar letters that we talked about, the lunar letters. It indicates to you the Hamzatul Wassel with this little sign here, Alhamdu. See how you're pronouncing it because it's in the beginning, but here you're not pronouncing it. You're saying Rabbil. You're skipping the Hamzatul Wassel because it's in the middle. Rabbil Alameen. This is a Hamzatul Qat. And here you are pronouncing it. Even if it's in the middle, you are pronouncing it, right? An'amta, you're always going to pronounce this Hamzatul Qat. So now we begin with providing a sample content of what this course is going to be like, okay? You will not need to know any of this information today. This is just to give you an idea of the course content, okay? So we are going to take this verse right here to analyze some grammatical concepts. So firstly, let's take bismi, and we're going to break it up, okay? So it breaks up into be plus ism. So be is a preposition, and it means in. So if you forgot the definitions of prepositions, it's given here for you. But basically, it's words such as in, at, on, off, to. So here, be means in, and ism means name. So right here, this is a Hamzatul Wassel as we talked about. So you might be wondering, why is this Hamzatul Wassel not written here? Well, sometimes it's not written. It's obviously not pronounced, but sometimes it's not written. So if someone were to write it, it is not incorrect. So we could also be writing it like that. This is the Hamzatul Wassel right here. Sometimes it's not written as in Bismillahi. So the second thing is that we observe here is in the English translation, it is in the name of Allah. So you might be wondering, where is the of in Arabic and where is the al, which is the in Arabic? Okay, so we are going to learn about these kind of special constructions, of constructions they're called, in one of our future lessons. When there are two nouns tied together, they form the of construction, like right here, name of Allah. And we will study about this in detail, inshallah. So we also now observe the Shamsiya letters that we talked about earlier. Notice how here you do not pronounce the lam in the al here. You're going ar-Rahman, ar-Rahim. These are the Shamsiya letters that we've already talked about. So we're going to continue analyzing this verse in the next slide. Okay, so now let's talk about these two words right here. Let me give you an example. So if I say I broke the glass, and then I can say I smashed the glass. So as soon as I said that, you are probably wondering, she's probably quite upset. I smashed the glass. So what this is doing is conveying the intensity. The glass just smashed. It's conveying the force and intensity when I said that. So in Arabic, there are certain nouns that take certain forms of intensity. And we're going to study a lot about that in level 3. So Ar-Rahman falls in that category of intensive. And it's very beautiful because it points to, Ar-Rahman points out to the intensity, abundance, and vastness of his mercy, of his Rahmah. It is conveyed by the pattern of this word. Similarly, if we look at Ar-Rahim, the term Rahim also is an intensive pattern. It conveying the quality of giving or bestowing mercy. Now, this pattern, Rahim, also is an adjective of the form, expressing constancy in his mercy. And we will study about these patterns again more in the future. So another observation that we make here is in Arabic, the adjectives are not needed to complete the sentence. This sentence, Bismillahi, in the name of Allah, is already complete. So these two words are actually now going to provide more description about Allah. So think about in English, if we say red jacket, we are describing the jacket, right? The jacket is red. The red is describing it. Similarly, these two words are descriptive. They're adjectives. They're describing Allah. He is most compassionate, most merciful. And you may also be wondering, why is over here, it is not Bismillahu. Why is it Bismillahi? You might be wondering, why are there kasras here? And if you're wondering, those are very good questions, because the harakat, which is these kasras, dhammas, as we will learn in future lessons, they convey the function of the sentence. So basically, you can see now that by analyzing this verse, you understand it so much better. You can feel Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You can feel the force, the intensity of his compassion and mercy, inshallah, when you read this verse next time. So in our lessons, we are going to be taking examples from the Quran, but for our trial lesson, I thought it would be nice to just go over some common sayings to understand some of the grammatical concepts that we will be covering. So let's take this example, Jazakallahu khairan. So jaza means recompense. Okay, so recompense is compensation. It could be good or bad. So if someone takes a shortcut and says Jazakallahu, that's it. It leaves a question, is the compensation going to be good or bad? So it is advisable to say the whole thing. Jazakallahu khairan. May Allah recompense you with good. So now let's talk about this ka over here. This ka means you, and it's written with the verb jaza. It's attached when it's written, unlike English where you write the you separately. Now, when you say ka, you're talking to a male, okay? So when you are talking to a female, it is ki. However, in common use, we don't make that distinction. But it would be more correct to say jazakillahi. Similarly, when it's a group, the correct way to say it is jazakumullahu, because it indicates, the kum indicates to plural. And we're going to study a lot about these in our future lessons. These are pronouns which come in attached and detached forms. So now let's analyze this verse further with an example, English example. So if I say the girl ran is the verb and girl is the subject. The subject is doing the action of the running. So here there's a reward being given to you. So who's the subject here? The subject is Allah. And as we will learn in future lessons, this Dhamma also indicates to this being the subject of this sentence. So may Allah reward you. Allah is the subject. Now let's take another example. So if I say in English, I hit the ball. So the question arises first. If I just said I hit what? So ball is the object. I hit the ball. Okay. So ball is the object of this verb, hit. So similarly, in Arabic also, certain verbs come with objects. So here, Jazakallahu khairan, khairan serves as the object. So again, this Tanween right here, double fatha, indicates to an object. And we will study about this a lot in detail during our upcoming lessons about harakat, the function of these dhammas and fathas and kasras. We will be studying a lot about this in detail. So now we talked about Jazakallahu khairan. I want to now show you this sentence, Assalamu alaikum. Look at it just for a second and see how this sentence is different from this one right here. So how it's different is it has an al attached to it, which is a sign that this is a noun. Assalamu is a noun. And this was a verb. So we are going to study about verbal sentences like that, and now sentences that began with a noun. Okay, so this is peace be upon you. And this kum is you all, as we already just looked at before. And we will learn how this is a preposition in our future lessons, inshallah. Now let's talk about conditionals. Conditionals is a topic in a more advanced level, which is in level 3, but it's a very interesting subject. So let me give you an example of conditional. So if I say, if you help me, I will help you. That is conditional. I will only help you if you help me. If you invite me, I will come. That's also conditional. So similarly, Insha'Allah is a conditional sentence. One of the meanings of in is if, that we will study in detail in the future. So when you say, I will go out of town, Insha'Allah, this is actually a conditional statement. It means, if Allah wills, I will go out of town. So in indicates to a conditional sentence. And what is sha'a? It is a verb. Okay, lot of lessons on verbs. And what this verb means is he wills. This he is not visible, but it's in this, inside of this verb. It's hidden in here is a he. He wills. Because if it's a female, we would have said sha'at. That would be a female, but here it is sha'a. It's he wills. So again, there is a verb here. So there's always going to be a subject. And who's the subject here? Allah. Allah is the one who's doing the willing. Okay, and again, notice there's a dhamma here, a sign that this is a subject. So this is an example from the Quran. Wa inna, here's your insha Allah. Now we will cover inna in a lot of detail in upcoming lessons. And basically the gist of it is it means indeed, surely. It's a particle of emphasis. All right. So if we look at now this statement, MashaAllah, ma also has many meanings, but here it means what? Sha'a, it's the same verb right here. Sha'a Allahu. Again, this is Allah is the subject of this verb, meaning what Allah willed has happened. This is what the meaning is of MashaAllah. So now I'm going to cover another verb. This is Baraka. In Arabic, there's a concept called extended verbs. All that means is there are more letters in the verb. So this one has like an additional letter. And every time you have more letters, it gives the verb more meaning. So here it's a little interactive meaning is provided here with this word, Baraka. So it means bless because Allah is blessing you in Barakallahu Fika. So again, you will notice Allahu has a dhamma because it's the subject of this verb, Baraka. Fi is a preposition in, but it's not translated here. You just say, may Allah bless you. So this is you all, kum. You all, this is plural, and here it is singular. Fika would be male and fiki would be female. Continuing our discussion with extended verbs. So let's look at a basic verb right here, and you will study later the concept of root letters. So for this simple verb here, the root letters are ghain, fa, and ra. It is very important that we study root letters because with the root letters, you add additional letters and they form certain patterns. Okay, certain nouns are formed. So if you see that this alif is added, and if you knew this root immediately by the pattern, you would know its meaning. If you knew the meaning of ghafara means to forgive, you would know what ghafir means. It means the forgiver of sins. So this is the beauty of learning the patterns of nouns in Arabic. They help you to understand the meaning further. So we're going to study about these kind of derived nouns quite in detail in our course, during our course. Again, if you look at this word, al-ghaffar, from the same root, ghafara, this is back to my smashing the glass example. This is an intensive form pattern. It expresses the quality of repeatedly forgiving over and over. And this is the beauty of Arabic. With just one word, it's expressing such an intensive quality of forgiveness, which in English, you're going to need several words to describe this. But in Arabic, just this word itself, in its form, gives this additional meaning that it's repeated, it's over and over, it's intensive. He is al-Ghaffar. Okay. So similarly, right here, look at how 3 letters have been added. It's the same root here, Ghafara, but 3 letters have been added. So by adding these letters, the meaning has now become more. See, now the extra meaning is he begged for forgiveness, seeked for forgiveness. So this is the meaning associated with by adding these additional letters. And these are extended verbs, which we have many lessons to discuss all this. So this is a verb, astaghfiru. I seek forgiveness from Allah. And this is a noun from this root right here, istighfar, which is forgiveness. So this slide, I've put this on here just to show you the importance of learning Arabic. If you look carefully at this circled verb, and if you look carefully at this circled verb, you will see that the letters are the same, right? Khalaqa, which is the verb. I'm going to make a split here because this hum means them. I'm going to make a split here because this hum means them. So here it is khalaqa, which means he created. But here it is khalaqna, we created. So there is a noon with an alif here. There's a stretch here, na, which means we created. So the meaning is quite different. And if someone were to mispronounce this noon and just say khalaqnahum, instead of stretching the sound of the alif here, they would change the meaning further. Khalaqnahum means they, the females created them. Astaghfirullah. We do not want to change the meanings. So if we understand Arabic, we will also be pronouncing the Quran correctly in addition to be able to understand. So you are not expected to understand all of this at all. This is just to give you an understanding of the importance of learning Arabic so that you can even recite the Quran accurately and correctly, inshallah. So we talked about root letters quite a bit. Here is another Arabic verb, kataba. The root letters are here, kaf, ta, and ba. And again, if you know this, kataba, which means he wrote, if you know this root letter, there's so many more words that will be in the derived forms. These have certain patterns that we will learn. So once you know the patterns, the meaning will become easier for you to understand. For example, you would know that there are certain nouns that come in this pattern right here. So this is kitab, book. So kutub is a plural, and plurals have different patterns that we're going to study. Okay. So again, this alif comes in that root. We talked about this earlier, and here we would know by this pattern that it means writer. Kitabatun is writing, and maktub is what is written. All these patterns, inshallah, we will be studying in the future. So in a live class, right now, we would be asking questions and doing a little practice. So right here, this slide was actually just given for you to practice a little bit the topics we had discussed. For example, what are the short and long vowels? This is a short vowel that we learned, dhamma. And then this is a long vowel that we learned because there's a fatah here followed by an alif sukun, al-fatiha. This is a kasra, which is a short vowel. We also talked about the definite article, which is right here. Al is the definite article. So da. We talked about Hamzatul Wassel in the al. This is Hamzatul Wassel, not pronounced in the middle. So you're going Suratul Fatiha. We talked about Huruful Kamariya. This is a Huruf Kamariya because you are pronouncing it. You're pronouncing the al here, Al-Fatiha. Versus if there was a al here, if there was al in front here, you would not have pronounced this lam. You would say as-surah. We talked about verbs and nouns. This is a verb. It means recite. Qara'a. This is the root letters qaf, ra, and hamza. This is a hamzatul qata. Qara'a. This is the root letters of this verb. And from here, one of the derivative nouns is al-Quran, which means recitation. Again, this follows certain patterns that we will talk about in derived nouns. We talked about adjectives. So here, al-Karim is an adjective describing al-Quran. Karim, noble, Quran, the noble Quran. So we talked about adjectives. That's it. So that's the end of this lesson. And I hope this class was beneficial to you. So the live session will, inshallah, start May 29th. I am planning to skip next weekend on Sunday because it's a long weekend in Canada. So inshallah, we will start the live lessons on May 29th. Please take a look at this video and get in touch with me, whether you are going to enroll in the live classes or with the recorded versions, or you would like to schedule one-to-one with me. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.